Yeah.
Okay, good morning, everyone. If you don't know who I am, I'm Jennifer Wong. I'm the Sustainability Services Coordinator at the City of Markham in our Sustainability Office. I'm here to talk about our process so far with the Municipal Energy Plan and our Stakeholder Engagement process. So just a quick run through the agenda. I'll go through why, just very generally, why we did a Municipal Energy Plan, why we decided to do it last year. The Ministry of Energy's MEP program, our stakeholder working group, progress to date, final product, and lessons learned. So the purpose of an MEP, we decided to roll out an MEP in Markham because first and foremost it aligns to our Green Print plan, which is our Markham Community Sustainability Plan. And in that plan we have 12 objectives, one objective being energy and climate, with another objective being, 12 targets with an objective for the energy and climate priority to be energy, water, and waste emissions net zero by 2050. So it's a very aggressive goal, but we plan to try and meet this target or at least get really close to it through the MEP process. The MEP will integrate energy conservation with with different departments within the city. So we are focusing on land use, infrastructure, water, wastewater, active transportation objectives. And we have been working with internal departments as well through this. Creates cost-effective efficiencies, local opportunities, especially for economic growth and development, and considers energy in future growth areas. So we are not just focusing on existing infrastructure, but also new community areas in Markham, and incorporating more multi-stakeholder engagement as well throughout the process. Okay, so in 2013, Markham applied for the MEP program, and in 2014, 8 applicants were successful through that program with an upwards of $90,000 in funding to fund pretty much 50% of the Municipal Energy Plan development. And so what we decided to do was, there are 3 stages in this program. We broke down stage 1 into A and B. So you'll see stakeholder engagement as being part A, and then our RFP preparation for our consultant to join us to complete stages 2 and 3, which is the energy mapping and study and the energy plan development. And the goal for our timeline anyways is to have stage 3 completed by December 2016. Okay, so moving into our stakeholder engagement. So we started in May 2014. This is kind of a general structure as to how our stakeholders will engage with us and how we bring it back up to our council and council members. You'll see our MEP Stakeholder Working Group right in the middle, and they pretty much affect every other stakeholder that's around them. And of course it goes upwards to council. In no particular order, these are some of our stakeholders on the committee. So we have city departments, particularly economic development, planning and urban design, asset management, recreation, and engineering. And then our local utility companies, your region rapid transit, our residents associations. So we have 2 residents associations and an advisory committee for sustainability as well. Which sector? So we have York University, YRDSB, York Catholic District School Board, and the hospital, so Markham School Hospital as well. And then of course, Quest, ISO, WOMA, and Bill. So progress today, we have since 2014 completed stage 1A and 1B. So stakeholder engagement, we had 4 stakeholder working group meetings since May last year with 60 stakeholders engaged. So we didn't get all 60 at once in all 4 meetings, but we had an average of about 20 to mid-20 people who have attended our stakeholder working group meetings and have provided great recommendations to moving the MEP forward. And through the RFP preparation, we have drafted the scope of work for our RFP. About a month ago, we launched a 1-week public consultation, which I'm not sure if everyone here knew about, but it's still up on our Markham.ca website. And you can, if you're interested in seeing what our scope of work looks like, you can definitely visit that website. It's still there. You'll also see our terms of reference for our stakeholder working group there as well as an appendix. And we're not taking any more feedback for the RFP, the scope of work, but I mean, if you do see something that does stick out that you do want to provide to us that will be helpful, we're definitely looking for feedback still. But through that process, it was pretty interesting. We got some really great feedback from especially our developers in the new community areas, and we were able to incorporate more of their objectives into the RFP, or the scope of work, to enhance the MEP energy plan document. And throughout stage one, we've actually coordinated really well with our planning and urban design staff or department, and since then have created a terms of reference for secondary plans in new community areas. And so what that entails is, and it's still in draft, but what it entails is, recommendations from our official plan, from your region's official plan, and from our Green Print sustainability plan on just policies, qualitative policies on how to start a CUP for secondary plans and what should be required in there. And as we go through the MEP process and we create the MEP, we hope to incorporate more of the targets, more quantitative targets into the secondary plan process as well. And so for the MEP final product, what we hope to accomplish is an energy intensity map. So looking at all the different factors that we talked about, fuel sales, car ownership, our utility data, all into one map so that we can see where the opportunities are for energy conservation and where the high energy consumers are in the city. We want to create a baseline energy supply, distribution, and consumption profile, just so that we understand where we are as a city and how we can reduce to net zero by 2050. The terms of reference, as I mentioned, will be finalized and incorporated into the MEP by 2016, and an energy descent map. So by 2050, what we need is, we don't want to be trying to reduce the amount of energy used to net zero, but increase local energy production while decreasing consumption. So at some point, we'll meet that net zero target. And then a communication engagement plan. So we don't want to just cut off our stakeholder engagement once we finish stage 3, but we want to continue that and meet their objectives through the MEP process as well. And then finally, an implementation plan and a monitoring and reporting plan. So really understanding what the short-term targets are for us to long-term, and making sure that we are holding ourselves accountable to meeting those targets throughout the plan. And so these are not just the only lessons learned that we had, but the major lessons learned that we've come up with so far is that we really need to engage in Markham anyways, felt that we need to engage stakeholders early in the process. We did that really well with external stakeholders. We reached out, we presented what we were doing, the objectives of the MEP itself, and how it could benefit them. But we felt that we had an opportunity to better engage our internal staff. So reaching out to our engineering, economic development staff, and understanding what plans they have that can be integrated into the MEP process so that we are meeting multiple objectives. And then avoiding scope creep. So for example, since a couple months ago, we get very excited about different innovations and projects that come forward that could be incorporated into the MEP. And so, for example, one of them was the EV's implementation study that we are possibly looking at with Pollution Pro, that I think would be a great integration with our MEP, but has obviously created a little bit of scope creep for us and caused a little bit of delay in the process. But at the same time, we don't want to miss the opportunity as we see great objectives between the two documents. So. And that's it.
Any questions for Jen? I'll kick it off because I have a question, Jen. Is the public consultation relating to the RFP, is that a normal process that Markham goes through, or is it something that was specifically done for the MEP to engage the stakeholders a bit more?
So we received a lot of comments on, could we see the document before it's released as an RFP for bidding. It's not something that we do normally in Markham, but it's something that we said, okay, let's incorporate, let's try this out and see if it works for benefit. And yes, it took up, it's not just 1 week, but it took up almost a month of planning this and incorporating the feedback that we got from that process into the document. And so I think in the end, it was a great test to incorporate these comments into the RFP, but it's not at all something that we do normally.
Right. Go ahead, Jeff.
I'm very interested in the interaction you had in that process with the developers, and how much setup did you need to do? Did they completely understand what you were talking about, or did you have to do some energy training or more communication to get the feedback you wanted?
So we have attended, it's like a committee that they have in Markham with our staff as well. And we brought forward what the MEP was early in the stages so that they had an idea as to what we were doing and the objectives of the MEP. And they also have a requirement, I think someone said it earlier, they had a requirement to meet a community energy, or to develop a community energy plan in their secondary plan process from the region. And so from that, it channels through into our official plan. And so they were already curious as to what this community energy plan looks like. It's new for them, and it's new for us. So we saw this as a great integration piece into our MEP process.
Alex, you have a question?
This may actually wind up being the same question that Jeff asked, but on that list of stakeholders, obviously each one comes to the table with its own perspective and maybe its own outcomes that it's interested in seeing.
The working group, but they are aware of what this is, and they actually advise us through the Green Steering Committee, which is the second one from the top. So what we do is we provide updates, I would say quarterly updates, on how the MEP process is going, and they provide us with recommendations on how to move forward with the MEP process. But they are not directly related to the stakeholder working group.
So what kind of direction, if any, are you getting from the mayor and Markham?
Right now, it's still very early stages for us. I think until we get more of the data and analyzing that data, we don't have too much direction from the mayor and councillors at the moment. Because we've been exploring the stakeholder engagement piece, it's been mainly trying to fit all of these different objectives to align to our main objective of net zero by 2050.
So it's council bought into that?
Yes, yes. It's part of our community sustainability plan, and so we are meeting that objective through the MEP process.
Should that be connected through CAO's office, like Andy Taylor's office, through the other city box?
Yes, so other city is mainly other municipalities that are involved through our process. So for example, we have City of Vaughan sitting on our stakeholder working group, and then vice versa, we sit on theirs. So we do share information and, again, objectives. But yes, Andy Taylor, for example, our CAO, sits on our Green Steering Committee with the mayor, commissioners, and some councillors.
Jen, one question I was curious about is, for the internal stakeholders working with other departments, did you get, was there a lot of alignment between some of their policies and practices that they're kind of trying to advance and the MEP?
A lot of people are seeing this as change. Change is difficult, but they do see great alignment. They see the benefits of doing this together and maybe aligning some of their projects with the MEP. I think that's still something that we can further explore. Right. But we haven't had any objections, I should say, for that.
Right. Any last questions for Jen? Oh, go ahead.
In your lessons learned slide, you mentioned external stakeholders. I really appreciate that. Did you have your CAOs support when you went out to be a part of this, or did you just do it at your level and your counterparts through this department, or was it more like the CAO?
We did go through the CAO for internal engagement, we actually went through the directors and senior staff and presented our terms of reference for our working group, just to give them an idea as to what this was. And then we actually met with them so that we could answer any questions that they had and seek any alignments through their projects as well. But it did go through the CAO level.
And the reason I asked that is to what level of the other departments committed to the successes of the program.
So they also have to meet the objectives in the blueprint as well. It's something that is mandatory, if you will, just like the official plan when they do their different projects or plans. And so we use that as a way to integrate what they're doing into the MEP, so that it wasn't, if I guess I could say like scope creep for them, but it was something that would help to advance what they were doing in their departments as well.
So a follow-up to that, how senior did you have a champion internally? Who would you say championed it internally so that everyone got engaged?
So my senior manager is the champion of this for our internal engagement, and since then we've actually engaged with directors from our different departments, and they saw the opportunities that we had in the MEP through that meeting that we had with them. But that's probably that would be our champions, and since then they have actually informed their staff. So for example, planning and urban design, we went through senior staff, and they've actually, this is actually more bottom up, but they've actually told their directors as to what this was and how it affected them and how it would integrate with both of our projects. And they saw great opportunity in resources and in time to do this MEP process and meet the different objectives.
So I think what I heard you say is it was very much a bottom-up approach. If you were to do it again, do you think there would be merit in having a very senior, very visible champion, or did bottom-up really work for you?
So it wasn't just bottom-up, it was actually top-down and bottom-up. Actually another thing, but we recently had our Director of Economic Development involved in our stakeholder working group, so there is that top-down approach too. But the bottom-up approach helps as well when we need to integrate projects together. But I would say both have been successful for us. If that helps.
Yes, thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Jen.